In this corner, the Marvel Legends retro card Iron Man Model 20, and in this corner, Iron Man from the Marvel Legends Zabu Wave. This one might be called the Superior Iron Man, but which one is the superior Iron Man figure? Starting off with the packaging, and we have two very different styles that we're looking at. The Zabu Wave version comes in a collector-friendly window box. We got our name and logo down here, action shot on the side, with completely different artwork on the back. This picture was taken from the cover of Superior Iron Man number 1. Here are the other figures in the wave, and if you collect all their pieces, you can build Zabu. The Model 20, by contrast, comes on a retro-style blister card. It's based on the Iron Man animated series figures based on Toy Biz, and if I'm not mistaken, actually uses the original key art elements. On the back we get a little bio, as well as a picture showing you how to swap all the parts, but overall that's it. Each design has its charm, but whereas I really like the nostalgia of the retro card, I love the functionality of a window box, and appreciate that they show you all the other available figures. For packaging, this round goes to Superior. Moving on to presentation and out of the box, there's a pretty stark difference between the two. I'll see myself out. Joking aside, they stand at 6.5 inches, or 16.5 centimeters, and while I'm pretty sure that the Model 20 is a 100% new sculpt, the Superior Iron Man does actually have a small amount of fairly clever reuse, by which I mean the legs. The dead giveaway is that these legs are pinned, whereas the elbows are not. The Model 20 does have pins in the bottom leg, so it's possible that they are reused and I'm just not catching what they're reused from. It makes more sense to me that the pins are there because it actually works with the riveting in the design. As for the original use of these legs, they come from the MCU Iron Man mark that one. Side by side, it's pretty obvious, but they actually did retool the upper half of the thighs. For those unfamiliar with the Superior Iron Man, it's Tony Stark gone evil as the result of an inversion spell cast during the Axis story. The suit's a combination of liquid metal and symbiote, and just as quickly as it came, the Secret War story made it go away without any explanation. Personally, I never really cared for this more Apple Store version of him. To me, he's less Iron Man and more Iron Man. Still, as the armor of a Tony Stark without a conscience, I think this does work. The issue, as many others have pointed out, is that this costume isn't supposed to be white. It's supposed to be chrome. And when you remember that it's liquid metal, that makes a lot of sense. I do like the little paint details that have been punched throughout, but I'd love to see this figure painted like Ultron and with the red accents of his combat mode. As for the Model 20, I have no complaints whatsoever. Yes, it's been cast in a marbleized plastic, but it is a lot darker, again more in line with Mark Whatsits, and the accents are a nice reminder that Tony is the red and gold Avenger. Model 9, I'm looking at you. Comparing it for a moment to Extremis, there's a lot more detail in the Model 20, all sorts of different extra panels and layers. I also really like these fins on his back. I'm not going to like them in the next category, but here they look good, and I really like this painted light detail here. The only issue with this figure? The box calls it the Model 20, when clearly it's the Model 25. Whatever you call it, it's a much better representation of its source material than this one. For presentation, this round goes to the Model 20. Moving on to Poseability, and there ended up being a much bigger difference between these two figures than I originally expected. From the top, and both figures' heads are on ball joints and disc swivels, but the Model 20 has an additional ball joint in the base of his neck. This gives him additional range. With that in mind, the Model 20 can look up a bit higher and down quite a bit deeper. He also gets a small amount of tilt. To be warned though, it does pop off pretty easily. Moving down, and these pauldrons are pegged into the Model 20's shoulders. As such, the Superior Iron Man does have the superior arm raise, but the Model 20 has butterfly joints allowing his arms to move forward and back. Additionally, because the pauldrons are pegged to the shoulders, there's no problem with rotation. Same thing with Superior. That said, both figures do have bicep swivel and pinless double jointed elbows with pretty equivalent bends. At the ends of the arms in both figures have swivel hinge wrists, but this backplate does keep the Model 20 from hinging upward. Moving to the middle, and both figures have a diaphragm joint, but the Model 20 also has a waist cut. Superior can arch back further, but neither of them are very good in this department. Model 20, of course, suffers from these fins on his back. It's okay, but for a flying character, I would like to see it a little bit more. That said, the Model 20 does have the better hunch forward, and while that diaphragm allows both figures to tilt and twist, Model 20 gets an additional twist at the waist. Below the battery packs and both figures have ball-jointed hips. Neither kick is all that good, but the Model 20 is higher. He also gets the wider split. Traveling down Tony's legs and both figures have thigh cut, as well as double-jointed knees, with both figures being pretty equivalent. And while both figures can hinge and pivot, the Model 20 has a ball joint in the ankle allowing for swivel. The articulation on the superior Iron Man is completely adequate, but between the extra neck joint, the butterfly shoulders, the waist cut, and the ankle balls, this one has the superior range. For Poseability, this round goes to the Model 20. Moving on to Playability, and this is a bit more of an even round, leastways in terms of accessories. Alternately, each Iron Man comes with a pair of fists, as well as a set of open blast hands, and of course where there are blast hands there are repulsor beams, but whereas the superior Iron Man has only been given 2, the Model 20 has been given 4. That said, this isn't without issue. Remember, because the backplate, the hands can't really hinge upward, so if Tony's going to use them offensively, he kinda has to high-five people to death. Additionally, the Model 20 doesn't have the starbursts at the bottom. As such, there's a notable gap between the peg holes and the blasts. On the flip side, Superior Iron Man has his alternate head. Because this version of Tony was a lot more narcissistic, this is how he usually appeared in the comic, and honestly, it's probably how most people are going to display him. I will say they've done a great job of painting it and capturing his corrupted personality. Of course, Playability is more than just alternate heads or blast effects that don't fit quite right. It's also about how well your figures play with others. Starting with a few other relevant armors, and here is the Model 9, also from the retro card wave. And then here we have the 80 years figure, that classic 90s style modular armor, the Hero's Return armor, the era-defining Extremis armor, the Model 70 designed by Alex Ross. 85! That's it. It's the 85. And then here we have the AI Tony Stark, which battled Superior Iron Man to try to turn him back to normal, and Tony's other primary antagonist during the Superior run, Daredevil. This one's from the Man Without Fear 3-pack. As for the magic users who cast the inversion spell that turns Superior Iron Man bad, here we have Dr. Doom and the West Coast Avengers version of Scarlet Witch. For a few characters who played a pretty big role in the Axis story that I have Axis appropriate figures of, and here we have Carnage, the Bob 2-pack version of Deadpool, a bootleg of the Marvel Now Storm, the Pyro 2-pack version of Rogue, the astounding Nightcrawler, the 80 Years 2-pack version of Colossus, and Johann Schmidt combined with the power of Professor Xavier, also known as Red Onslaught. For a relative scale comparison, here are Iron Men with Pete to Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. You know, I have an app I bet you would love. Is it free? It is for the first day. As much as I like the Model 20, the blast effects and the inability to pose them in a blasting pose really does hold it back. The Superior Iron Man doesn't have that problem, and the extra head does make for a fun alternate display option. For Playability, this round goes to Superior. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price, and the battle is tied. Both are on shelves right now in retail for $24.99, but whereas the Zabu Wave version has a lot of reuse and isn't quite as comics accurate, the Model 20 has more new tooling, more articulation, and more accessories, making it the better value and the superior option. For price, this round goes to Model 20, who wins the battle 3-2. Sound off in the comments and let me know what you thought of the Superior Iron Man run. While you're down there, let me know which armor you hope Hasbro makes next. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.